So, welcome everyone. So, tonight we are going to be speaking about financial services. So, we have three panelists. The first one we have Uncle Choon, okay, and then we have Charin Teh, and we have Auntie Alicia. Okay, Charin and Alicia are from the banking industry, and Uncle Choon is from the investment side. Okay, so let us begin first. I think I will pose the question to Uncle Choon first, lah, huh? Since he's the rose among thorns.
Oh, I thought you want to go by age.
Go by age,
Yeah, also me, oldest.
Oldest. So, Chun, maybe you could share with us, and it will be the same question for Karen and Alicia too. Maybe you could share, a little bit about your background, like your schooling background. Where did you do your secondary school, and then where did you do your tertiary education? Yeah.
Okay. I actually went to secondary school in Ipoh. It's a school called Samtet. It's a I guess a Chinese school. So after my secondary school, I went to study 1 year in KL, Kuala Lumpur, at Inti College. In fact, I think I'm the first batch of the student there. They just started the Inti College back then. It's a short block, not like today. So I went there for 1 year, and after that I went to US to study at University of Virginia. I studied finance and management information system. Management information system is basically some sort of like computer science, but more for management side.
Okay. So your year at Inti was a preparatory year, is it, to go to US?
Well, interesting. I did my SPM and I didn't do that well. I did well for all my subjects except Bahasa. So then I have a choice whether I can retake Bahasa so that I can go to Form 6 or I go to a private college. So I went to a private college because I guess you need a credit in Bahasa. I didn't get credit.
Right.
But the rest I did really well. So I decided to, instead of retaking Bahasa, I just went to private college. Yeah.
Okay.
So Chun, a question. What's the name of the course you did in Inti? I mean, it's like a SAT or something.
It's actually they call at that time they call it the American Transfer Program.
Okay.
But I think it's also very new to them, so everyone is trying to figure out what it's about. And I basically you are almost taking like university classes. But the good thing is back then all the lecturers were from University of Malaya and all the local university. The professor were Chinese because I think they were trying to, at that time, start a university catered towards the Chinese educated students.
Right.
But they didn't get the approval by the government, so they started Inti College.
I see.
A group of them, the professor, yeah. So quite good education, I think.
Yeah, and Inti is still going strong today.
Yeah, but it's quite different today, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when you decided to choose your business degree and your finance, what led you to make that choice?
I was not I didn't grow up in a Christian family, so I was not a believer then. So God was not in the picture when I choose the course. I guess most people were telling me and my dad, oh, you should have your son study engineering at that time. It's like the kind of the in career. But I have no interest. So I thought I basically did my own. My parents were quite okay in terms of allowing me to figure out what I want to study. So I did my own research. I said, oh, I want to study business. That'll be interesting because I learn about all different kind of things, and I can everything after I graduate. There should be a lot of opportunity anywhere I can get a job. So it's just I pick a career that's wide instead of specialized. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Thanks, Chun. So I'll move on to Alicia. So Alicia, so the same question, where was your secondary schooling and then
Yeah.
your tertiary? Yeah.
Okay, so I went to Convent Green Lane, CGL. I finished my SPM in Convent Green Lane. And then I moved on to do my Form 6 with Penang Free School.
Okay.
So that was the path that I took. And then after Form 6, I went into USM to do a Bachelor of Arts, majoring in music. Actually, that wasn't what I wanted. I wanted to study kind of like interior design. I'm an arts person, so I actually like interior design a lot. But well, due to financial reasons, right? So and my dad wanted me to go into a uni and then USM. So that was where I landed lah. So I entered USM, finished my Bachelor of Arts, major in music, minor in English. Yeah.
Okay. So okay. So from SPM you went straight into USM lah.
STPM.
STPM, yeah.
STPM you got into USM lah. So
Yes,
that's wonderful, Alicia. You must have done quite well at STPM.
Actually, no. I'm not the study kind of person. really is by God's grace, I scrape through, get the minimum requirement to apply for the local university, because to apply for local university you need a minimum to
Yeah.
in order to apply. So what I got from the STPM result was really the bare minimum to apply, right? So I didn't thought I could get also, but yeah, I guess that's how God planned it, if it's His will.
Correct.
So I got it in, yeah.
Yeah. So before I move on to Karen, I'm just curious. How did you enjoy your course? I know it wasn't what you wanted to do, but were you able to enjoy while you were in university?
Actually, I didn't really enjoy the whole course.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I had to go through the 3 years to complete it, and then then after that it's another story already. Later you know more.
Yeah, we'll come back to the more story later. Okay.
Yeah.
So now I'll move on to Karen. Karen, now your story, your schooling as well as your tertiary.
Yeah, so I finished my secondary school in an all-girls government kebangsaan school in Kuching. So I was in St. Mary's. And then I got a scholarship to go to Methodist College to do A-levels. So I came to KL. I did it for a year and a half. And then I went on to do my mechanical engineering degree in UK, in the University of Surrey.
Oh, so you were offered engineering in England,
Was I offered? No, I chose it actually. It was what I chose by the process of elimination. Because I like physics, I'm good at maths. I couldn't do bio to save my life. And everything else was, I knew that I was good in physics and maths. And so kind of just let me down the engineering route.
Right. So
I was also good in physics and math, but I went totally
direction. But did you enjoy? I mean, you chose mechanical engineering. So did you enjoy your course of study?
Yeah, it was. I really had a lot of fun. When you choose mechanical engineering and you do it in UK, you tend to be less than 10% of the general crowd, because there are very few girls and very few Asian girls that do mechanical engineering, because you study about fluids and cars and automotives and things like this. So
it's not popular choice for girls. The girls are on chemical and civil engineering, but very few girls in mechanical, which means that it's an advantage and a disadvantage. It's an advantage because a lot of people tend to help you, because I'm very small and so helpless, and so I get a lot of help. Yeah, I did really enjoy my uni days. Yeah.
Okay. So why did you choose mechanical engineering? Was there some childhood ambition or something inspired you?
Not at all. Nothing to do with my childhood ambition. I've always been interested in perhaps going down the education line. Mechanical engineering was, like I mentioned earlier, something that I arrived at through a process of elimination. I actually don't like money or money-related matters, so I didn't end up going into accounting or finance or business or anything like that. So I thought, because maybe to backtrack a little bit, I got a scholarship to do mechanical engineering, but it bonds me to the job that I currently have. So I decided that since I'm already bonded to the financial industry, let me go and do something with my degree that is completely unrelated.
I see. So that's how you ended up in engineering, lah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So okay. So I will stay on with you before I move on to Alicia and Chun. So can you tell us what do you do right now, since you did engineering but now you're in the financial sector? So yeah. So how did that happen?
Yeah, a lot of people, you find that actually a lot of fresh graduates in recent years, like I would say maybe about the past 10 years, we don't tend to work in the fields that we graduated in. And I know this because when I first joined the bank, I ended up in a management training program that allowed me to rotate in different departments and try out different sectors, because most people who come into this program do not have a background in finance. Some do, but most of us don't. So I tried out HR. I was in HR for a while doing recruitment for fresh graduates. And then I was in branch. I did some branch operations. I was in the SME Business Center doing loans there. I tried out risk in market risk and retail credit risk. And then I ended up choosing where I currently am, which is the digital team in Maybank. So my department works on projects that are related to digital financial services. Specifically for my team, we work with SME loans and mortgage-related loans. Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe I can tell you a bit about what I do on a day-to-day now.
Yeah.
Nowadays, we start off with meetings with IT, because my team is a project-based team. So where we're at currently is we're at the tail end where we are going to launch it to market. So we meet with IT and then we troubleshoot things and we clarify things. I work on the business end. So I do a lot of documentation about all the requirements that we want from IT. And then I liaise with all the different parties. So whether that is our user interface designers or our IT-related systems managers, we also liaise with the different units of business, accounting, and our job is to be able to develop the product into something that can be launched on our online channels. Yeah.
Okay, so
I get stressed by just listening to what you.
No, it's like being in uni permanently, where you are forever in a group project. That's what it's like.
Yeah, so actually I was just going to ask you, for the rest of us, even for me, could you break it down in more layman's term, or give us an example of a product that is in the market, that how did you get involved until it got into the market?
Okay. So it's quite interesting. My team is not the business unit, so we do not own any of our products. So let's say I have to develop an SME loan. First of all,
okay, what is SME loan first?
Small, medium enterprises.
Okay.
So it is the small merchants who own small businesses.
Okay.
And if there is a need there in the market, then we sit down and we brainstorm, okay, what sort of loan can we offer them? Where is the source of funds coming from? Is it from Bank Negara, or is it from our internal source of funds? So from there, we develop product features. And then the interesting part is the digital side of it, because everything that you see on online banking websites is all planned out by a team. So the department that I'm in, everything that you see on Maybank to You is all planned by them. My team handles the specific loan portion. So then we design all the screens which the user goes through. So whether you are doing an online form or you're going to perform a transaction, all that is designed by a team. So my team's job is to design that customer journey.
Right.
And then once we have an idea developed, we sit down with our group of designers and then we tell them, okay, within 6 screens, this is what the customer needs to see in every screen. So then we talk about the tone and how we want it to look. Should it be friendly? Should it be brighter colors? Like, what do we want the customer to see? And then from there, we develop what kind of buttons we want the customer to be able to click on. And then we talk to IT. So then IT side is to do all the coding and the logic behind all these digital forms and then the processing of all these loans. And eventually then we test out the whole system end to end as the customer. And then we launch it to market. So then it will be what consumers see and experience.
Okay, so how long this process take from the idea to the product being launched?
It varies from project to project. Some of them can come out in 1-2 months. One of the projects I'm on has been ongoing for 2 years. So it depends on how big the project is and
Right.
how much research we have to do beforehand.
Right, okay, okay. So now I understand when I go onto my Maybank to you and I need to, pay bills or pay something, and then I realize all that interface, there was a team behind that actually designed everything and made it comfortable for us the end users to use it.
Yeah.
Now when I log in, I see your face at the back of my
No, I always joke that I'm the least digital savvy in the department. So if I can use it, anyone can use it.
All right. Okay. So now I move on to Alicia for, because, Karen is also with the bank, Alicia also is with the bank. So Alicia, could you describe, your job and, what do you do? Yeah.
Okay, so mainly my role is mortgage support. Means I support existing loan customers with UOB. I'm basically frontline. I attend to walk-in customers, call in, emails, handle complaints, doing account reviews, calling for collection, and also reviewing accounts that is we call it the red flags to check on money laundering transactions. Yeah. So front line as in I attend customer, but back line as in account reviews.
So do you
all
have
on loan
to,
customers.
so if I go to get a mortgage loan, is that I will see you first or a different person?
Okay, so I'm considered the support unit. So I don't have to do new sales.
Okay.
I support existing loans
I
customers.
see.
So new sales, we have another sales team. Seven of them is sales team. 3 of us will be mortgage support.
I see.
The operational support roles lah.
Okay. So could you describe how does a day look like to you? What happens in the morning until you clock off from work?
Okay, so office hours is 9. Banking hours is 9:30, but I log in at 8:45. So I log in 8:45. I make coffee first.
Yes, very
Then
important.
I log in, check my inbox. I clear all my mails, and then 9:30 bank is open, right? Customers start to come in. So when customer comes in, I will attend. So if there's no walk-in customers, then in between, if there's the reviewing of accounts or doing some reporting, in between will be this kind of paperwork that I will settle lah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So
good days you get good customers. Bad days you get very demanding customers, which you get scolded for no reason. So never mind, we just tell ourselves, you get paid to be scolded lah.
So just curious and also maybe interesting for our young listeners. When you say difficult customers, is there could you give us an example? What do you mean by difficult? Yeah.
Difficult customers, like some customers, they walk in, they check their loan account, and then they ask about their interest rate, right? So when you take a loan, there's a certain contract that you sign on during that time on the certain rate. Some customers, their rates are actually very low already comparatively to the current market rates, but they will have to demand for better rates. They argue all their way. So we just have to tell them again. No, we can't accommodate.
Yeah, because
So
they're
some
bound by
customers write in to
right,
complain even, you know. Yeah, I mean, some customers, they write in to make an official complaint saying that, you know, personal attack, like you're not helpful and all that. But it's really not that. It's really, they are just trying their chance to press and get a better rate. So yeah,
right.
these kind of customers.
So that's how you have your good days and then your not so good days lah.
Yeah. So as you work, I guess you slowly get used to it lah. I remember there's a period of time where first time I got scolded 4-letter words from a customer. Wow, I cannot tahan, you know, I burst out. I cried, you know, because I didn't know how to handle. I was like so shocked, scolded, and was so loud. Everybody was there, you know, other customers were there, and they were just scolding.
Yeah.
So yeah, these are the little things that we learn as we go along,
Okay.
handling customers. Yeah.
So your job is a lot of interpersonal skills that you need to have to
Yes,
deal
yes.
with people, right? Yeah, you
Yes.
need to gauge their
Communication
Yeah.
and negotiation. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thanks Alicia. So now I move on to Chun. So Chun, so tell us about your time. You maybe give a background about the company that you worked for and the position that you were
Yeah.
in.
Okay, I worked for Morgan Stanley for many years, 16 years. Now I no longer work for them. I've retired. I worked for them for 16 years, and Morgan Stanley it's what well, let me take a step back. In Malaysia, a bank does multiple things. So it goes from personal loans to corporate lending to even helping company listings and all those things.
Yes.
But in the US, the bank is structured in a way where there's retail banking, commercial and retail banking is separate from what they call investment banking. And investment banking, they deal with listing, public listing of shares. They deal with advising on mergers and acquisition. They deal with taking over companies. It deals with issuing bonds. Okay. So Morgan Stanley used to be a long time ago. JP Morgan and Morgan Stanley is actually one company. And because of this new banking act, it's split into two. So Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan was the bank, retail and commercial bank, and then Morgan Stanley become the securities firm. So or you call it investment bank lah. So I worked for Morgan Stanley after I graduated from university. I started like Charin in they don't call it the management program. They call I guess they call it the analyst program, but it's similar in nature. You basically there's about a group of 150 of us started at the same time out of university. And we were put in together. We go through training for 3 months, and then we were assigned to different departments throughout the whole bank. So I started in that, and usually most of the people that go into that program, after 3 years, they will go to business school, MBA. They'll get their MBA, or they go to work for their clients. You know, they may end up in the industry like pharmaceutical because they were working in that sector. I ended up not doing that. I stayed back at Morgan Stanley and for 16 years. Yeah. So what I do, when I was assigned to the bank initially, I was sent to what they call the fixed income department. Banks in the securities firm, they tend to split into three major business area. One is the fixed income department. One is the equity department. Equity deals with stocks.
Okay.
Fixed income deals with bonds,
Right.
generally. And
Yeah.
then they also have asset management. Asset
Okay.
management means customer will put money in with us, and we will invest their money for them. So there's three
Divisions.
generally big division, and I was in the fixed income department.
Okay.
And in that, I started basically quite junior, and at that time, a new product happened to be because investment it's quite an innovative sector. There's always creating new products, and at that time we started a new product area, which is basically we lend money to people that are taking over companies. Okay. And when you take over companies, usually you need, especially a publicly listed company. I'm being a bit too technical maybe, but a publicly listed company, you cannot go to a bank to get a bank loan because it takes too long a time.
Yeah.
So what we do is because we're advising the client to take over the company anyway, so we actually lend them the money also to take over the company. And these loans are very short term. It's like 3 to 6 months. It's called a bridge loan. So in time for them to then arrange for permanent financing, either to get a bank loan or to issue bond in the debt market or to raise equity.
Okay.
Right. So that department started. So I was one of the first few people in that. And that brought me around the world. We started in the US, then we expanded that same line in Europe. So I went to Europe for a little bit, and then I went to Hong Kong for a little bit, and then Japan.
Right. Okay.
So that was 16 years of my life.
So what were your working hours like? I mean, listening to your explanation, I imagine it must have been very long working hours.
When I was very junior, when I first started, basically I only sleep and work. 7 days a week. There's basically no one keep track of your working hours. There's no like punch in, punch out. It's just, okay, you have something to do, you have to finish it. So you get it done.
So were there a lot of deadlines for you for the line of work that you were in?
Yeah, because if you think about it, it's all very time sensitive. When someone wants to take over a company, you only have a certain window, and so it's sometimes you just don't have time to sleep.
Chun, can you please tell us, like you say you work like day and night, so what do you do? I mean, what do you do when you work?
Okay. Throughout the 16 years was very different. Yeah. When I first started, my job is basically, when you take over a company, you have to analyze the company, right? So you have to figure out, so the client wanted to take over a company. They also need us to lend them the money. So my job is as a junior person, is to crunch the number, figure out whether, make sure all the financial statements, put together everything, analyze everything, prepare, present it to the more senior team member, and the more senior team member will basically make sure that I know what I'm doing. and then so when I was junior, that's what I did. And then when I was slightly more senior, I deal with clients. So let's say a hedge funds that try to take over a company. So my job is to actually get the business, convince them that we can do it, and then in that process also make sure what my junior presented, the people that do the the analysis is
Yeah.
correct, and then and then convince the credit department to lend the money. That it's safe to make the loan to this client, so that's my job as a more senior person. But then at the tail end of my career, I basically was a manager lah, and a risk. So I manage a team of about 100 people, and those 100 people is a mix of what I just described lah. So when we first started the team, there's only the whole firm in whole Morgan Stanley at that time. There's only like 10 of us went to start this product. That was in the US, and the US team grew to 100 over people. I was the most young junior guy on that team of 10. Then I went to Europe. That team grew to about 50, and then I went to Asia. That was about 100 people at the end.
Right. So every time when you were for every project that you were doing, for example, like you were doing a takeover or whatever, it was a team of you that worked together on that project. It wasn't one person working.
No.
Yeah, it was a team. It was a team effort lah. Okay.
And I'm just describing a very specialized area of a product of a securities firm. There's so many different products. So yeah.
Okay.
Choon, a question.
Yep.
Have you or your team got into trouble for any mistake or wrong?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Oh, okay. so what's the consequence?
So the way you the worst consequence you can get fired, or go to jail if you break the law, which we didn't, of course. That's one of the important thing. I guess the way a securities firm is very, I'll share this later. It's very performance-based and money-oriented, right? So whatever you do, you just have to make money for the firm. If you lose money, then you made a mistake. So at the end of the year, they will tally up how much money you make for the firm, and then I have to make sure I have made enough money to feed 100 people that works for me.
Wow.
Pay for their pay. So if the team doesn't make money, then people get paid zero potentially.
So it's a huge
sometimes it happens.
Yeah, it's a huge responsibility. Yeah. So okay, thanks June for sharing. I want to go back to Alicia. Alicia, because you when you explained earlier that when you did your degree at USM, it was music and you minored in English, and now you are in the banking sector. Could you help us to how did you end up in the banking sector? What was the journey like? Maybe briefly, maybe. Yeah.
So I studied music because it's I had to obey my parents. I finished my degree, and then but I knew I didn't want to do something that is related to music, because music I don't have much choice. It's either I become a music teacher or at home private, or I teach for school, right? So it's teaching music. So that wasn't what I thought I would enjoy. I don't think I enjoy teaching. So I actually after graduated, I had this friend who called me and said, hey, I saw one interview from Citibank. So my first job was with Citibank. They wanted to hire a mortgage sales. Mortgage sales means loan officer lah, acquire new sales. Okay. So that time, I just went with him, just for curiosity's sake. I just went with him to attend the interview. So as I actually think back, right, if I didn't have this friend to call me up and ask me to go for the interview, I think myself, I wouldn't have gone for an interview in a bank, because I didn't think that they would hire somebody with a music degree, right? I mean, music degree and finance is totally different thing. So I didn't think that I would end up in the banking line. But I went, and then because Citibank they wanted to hire new graduates. You don't have to have a finance background, but they hire you, they interview you, and then they groom you to become a salesperson to sell
Right.
their product, which is loans. So that's where I started to learn how to sell
I understand
sell loans.
the products the banking products
Yeah, they wanted young graduates that is daring enough to go and approach customer one. Yeah. So you have to go everywhere and meet customers, and then close the sale and bring the business back.
So I guess that's where you also hone your skills, your people skills, and from Citibank to get you where you are today. How-
Yes. Initially, of course, it's quite scary because you have to go by yourself to meet clients, which is strangers you do not know lah. But
Yes.
slowly, yeah, you get better, I guess.
So that brings me to my next question. How do you do you enjoy your job? What you're doing right now, is it something that I mean, because you're from a music background and a music degree, and then because you said your friend introduced you. If it wasn't for your friend, you wouldn't have got into the banking sector. Do you think there was maybe God's hand upon your life in leading you to where you are?
Yeah, I believe so. This is all part of God's plan, even though we do not know it when it was that moment. We
Right.
thought that everything was by coincidence or by chance.
Yeah.
But as now I think back, this friend episode that called me up to attend interview with him reminded me, if he didn't call me, I wouldn't have gone, and I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. So
Right.
sometimes subconsciously we do not know, but actually, every little step, God is actually there to lead the way. We don't see it then, but as we look back, we will realize it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's wonderful sharing, Alicia. Thanks. Now I want to come
Thank you.
to Charin. So you did mechanical engineering, and now you are in this banking sector. Do you see yourself to continue in this line, or do you think you would move on to actually going into engineering or something related to engineering?
I really don't know. This is a very common HR question, human resource question. When you go for an interview, they will ask you, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? And honestly, I think most people make up the answer. What is not real one, the answer. I really don't know where I will be even next year. You want to talk about the hand of God upon our lives. When I was 17, I got this scholarship that carried me through all my tertiary education, paid for my college, paid for my uni, and then got me the job where I'm currently in. And when you're 17 years old and somebody asks you to sign away the next 10, 11 years of your life to a job where you have no choice but to be in, it can be a very scary thing. Especially nowadays where a lot of young people don't stay in a job for more than 2 or 3 years, especially in KL. It is very uncommon for you to find a fresh graduate who is still in the same job after 4 or 5 years. At least in the sphere where I'm in.
I did 16 years.
Yeah, no, it's a really different generation nowadays. Like a lot of my colleagues who are around my age, this is their second or third job. I've been in the same company the whole time. So I'm quite unusual in the field where I'm in currently. Whether or not where I will go really depends on where I think God will lead. Next year is the year when my bond ends, and for the first time I have an option to choose my career. A lot of people do their choosing when they're a lot younger. My cell group mates say it's a delayed quarter life crisis.
Okay.
But wherever God opens the opportunity, I think I will explore. I have always been the type of person to just do the next thing. So if the next thing doesn't come up, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing, because I do think that God has placed me here for a reason. Even the department where I'm in, I actually got into this department because a friend that I had worked with on a different project earlier on had recommended me to this department. I had no other ties to this department previously. So God has been really faithful in surrounding me with a lot of mentors to teach me the ropes, and to give me a lot of opportunities which I would never have envisioned for myself. So it's very exciting times. I get to decide next year.
So Karen, how long is your bond actually? How many years were you tied?
I'm bonded for 5 years.
Okay, so next year is your 5th year and you will be done. Okay, so when you said you were given the option to choose, you mean the bank is allowing you to stay on in your current job, or you could actually move to a different department or different state?
Actually, the option to move within my company has always been open, which is the reason why I get to try so many different things. Internal transfers are allowed. It's just that for the first time next year, if I want to, I can try a different job completely in a different company. Yeah.
So that means no longer with a bank. Are you
Yes,
saying
but
no longer?
but it's not on contract basis. So I am a permanent staff. I can continue on working in the bank if I don't leave.
Right. Okay. Okay. So I look forward to hearing what's your next step. Sounds quite exciting, yeah. Okay.
Actually, you have this question. I just want to jump in a bit. Charin said
go
that
ahead.
no one planned ahead. I'm a planner. When I first interviewed, they asked me, "Oh, what do you want to do?" I actually was honest. I told them I'm going to work for you for 2 years. I want to go back to Malaysia.
Then how did it become 16?
Yes.
Yeah. So I told them that, and my plan all the while was to get the working experience, and then I go back to Malaysia. In fact, I actually got a job offered to go to Malaysia. I actually quit Morgan Stanley, but then they convinced me to stay. So what happened was I was in this. The product I was in was quite fixed income product to Malaysia back then. If you imagine 20 years ago, it's quite new. So I actually met a CEO of a bank. He was in New York on a business trip, and the bank, the head of the bank in New York actually, when he was there, connected me with him, and so I interviewed. He offered me a job. So I was supposed to come back to Malaysia to help this bank start their fixed income department. So Morgan Stanley heard that. He said, "You know what? So they asked me, why do you want to go back? Why do you want to go to Malaysia? It's such a small place, you know. You're in Morgan Stanley, we're a global firm, you know." So I said, I want to be close to my parents, and also actually I was not a believer, but God had already planted a seed in my heart for Malaysia. In fact, I could have gotten a US citizenship, but I never did. I'm still a Malaysian. Because all this while, for some reason, God put that in my heart. So I wanted to do that. I resigned. They offered me, say, "Okay, why don't you stay with us, but we'll send you to Asia. But you first have to go to London first, and then Asia, and you can help us start this department." The same thing I did in New York. Okay, so I actually have to fly back to KL to apologize. And to the person, and I did that lah, and I stayed at Morgan Stanley, but that's good lah, because the bank was then subsequently forced to be taken over by CIMB, I think.
Oh, I see. Okay.
It's a Chinese. It's a very progressive Chinese bank, but it was taken over by CIMB. Yeah. So yeah. So that was a good thing. Yeah.
So Chun, then so you were saying, initially you're saying you were not a believer, when you were with Morgan Stanley. Was there any point in your career? I know you accepted a lot when you were in Japan. That means you were with Morgan Stanley. Was there any difference after being a believer and viewing your job from a different lens?
Sure.
Was that
Yeah. I'm very convinced that if I were not a believer, I would be divorced by now.
Okay.
I seriously, I'm very convinced. I met my wife in Hong Kong when I was being posted in Hong Kong for Morgan Stanley, and I met her there. We got married, and we both of us accepted Christ in Japan, and after that, it's like I guess it's like God opening up your eyes to see things differently, and from before, I'm very single-minded, and I'm very successful. I did really well, and every year we improve in the revenue lah. So I throughout my career is always quite smooth sailing, and I was promoted fast, so I don't really have to struggle, and work is all my focus. And when I got married, work and my family lah. But
Yes.
the two has tension, like work and family. As you say, I'm on call. I'm like Suhin, almost on call 24/7. Anytime someone will call me middle of the night, because the financial market is global,
Yes.
so no one sleeps.
Yes.
So the biggest thing is that when I became a believer, I find that a lot of things, actually, when I would take a step back. When I became a believer, I was a very young believer, so I'm still blur, but but I took a very strong stand on things. Okay. In a way that if I look back today, I may have done some of those differently. Okay. I'm not saying that I will compromise my morals or my belief, but I would say that how I deal with them will be different.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I'm just a more mature believer. Yeah.
Understand. So for anyone wanting to pursue a career, that you had, or something similar that you had, okay. So from a Christian point of view, or a believer's point of view, how would they navigate, the challenges that they would face in a job like yours?
Scripture says you cannot serve two masters, right?
Yes.
Money and God. But in my line, as I said, it's all about money only. Right? So what motivated everyone, all the workers, are bonuses that they'll get at the end of the year. And unlike working in a like Alicia and Charin in a commercial bank, in a securities firm, the bonus is majority, like 90% of your basically pay. So your basic salary is maybe 5 or 10% of your total pay. So everything is about money. So when you make money for the firm, they pay you more lah. So that's why I say to a point that people actually break the law, because they are so the way they're incentivized is so single-minded about making profit that they cut corners. Yeah.
So actually having faith, faith in God actually would keep you on that straight and narrow road.
Yeah. And I actually told, I did one session with another group of young people, younger adults, about career. I said, you know what, they are in a much better place than I were, because they were believers. If you think about it, if I'm a boss, what type of employees do I really like? I would like someone that is honest, right? Someone that would not be backstabbing me, in the process. And so if you are a believer, that your characters and your moral standing will stand out lah, I think.
Yeah, yeah, because you want somebody who's honest, who's loyal, who's trustworthy,
Yep.
and as believers, that's actually that's the traits, the character traits
Yep.
that we are supposed to have, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So if I can come back to Alicia, so Alicia, as a believer, because you were already a believer when as you were looking for your job and everything. So in your current position, was there a time that your faith was tested, by a client or by instructions from a superior? Were you ever tested?
Um, yeah, maybe a scenario example was like I had to submit a important report to my bosses, and actually I made an error in the reporting. So I had several options, right? I could have blame others. I could have said that it's not my fault, But after thinking about it and struggling, well, I choose to admit, it's the error. I did an error, so I apologize and and amended the report. So bosses were kind enough to accept the apology, and I moved on from there. So it was like, it was a struggle, whether you want to admit error. If you admit error means you don't look so good on yourself already, it's like, oh, you're not competent, right? So you are kind of scared to admit that you made an error, but but cannot lah. We have to admit it.
Or else you can't sleep
Be
at night.
honest. Be honest. I think the key is to really be honest. If you made an error, you just say you're sorry, and then, I mean, if all along you have a good reputation with your bosses, if you have good attitude at the workplace, your bosses know you, then you don't have to be afraid. You will have their how to say, covering. They will not stab you down and make you die.
Can I add on, Reena, to
Yes.
what Alicia said? Like, as I just now mentioned, that there are people that break the law. In my company, the product sometimes is so complicated that it's really hard for the auditors to even check. And in fact, you probably have seen a lot of the news, like how people, like someone that make an error, it may be small, but they try to cover it up. And as they cover up, they create a bigger and bigger problem. And if you see some banks, a single employee costs the bank to lose billions of dollars, US dollars. And the reason it can be so magnified is because initially it may be a small error. And to cover that small error, they have to create other things to cover it up. As they create, it becomes a gigantic problem. Yeah. So I think, as Alicia said, if a boss cannot accept an honest mistake and someone stand up and apologize for it, you probably don't want to work for that boss anyway. So it's better that you be fired,
Oh, that's a good one.
Seriously, like if a boss cannot accept that, and then no one is going to be perfect. I mean, that boss himself probably made a lot of mistake himself too.
Yeah, it was good advice, Alicia. I mean, I think if you have good ethics, good working practices, and
Yes.
you work hard, and so I believe God will honor that good actions of yours. Even though you make a mistake, you will get grace from your bosses.
Yes, favor and grace.
Yeah, that's good. So now my last question, moving on to Karen as we wrap up the session. So Karen, um, for the last 5 years, you were with the bank and in the different departments. Were you ever tested also? Where did you ever have to compromise or to cover up or anything? For the work that you've been doing.
Unlike Uncle Chun and Auntie Alicia, the work that I do doesn't actually involve any money transacting. So a majority of the bank, especially if you work in the headquarters, are actually support staff that work on the background of developing all these products and things like that. And one thing I've learned is, as a Christian, right, what your faith gives you is new lenses to view your industry. And that, like Uncle Chun mentioned about motives just now, it drives your motives and it gives you the right attitude. I think at the end of the day, the work that I do is easily replaceable. I'm not a specialist. I don't have a special skill. Like I don't code a specific language, which means that if tomorrow I quit my job, very easily they will find somebody to replace me. So when you're a junior office worker like myself, what happens is that on a day-to-day basis, you deal with a lot of PowerPoint slides and a lot of documents for approval and all these things. And many times when I see a lot of people my age, or I talk to my friends, it can be so overwhelming. Like work tends to consume us because our bosses want something from us and then we're always rushing for a deadline. We're always trying to meet all these expectations, right? And at the end of the day, I think that you have integrity and you have a good working attitude, not just because we are Christians, so we are good people. There are a lot of very good people in the bank. There are a lot of people who are very helpful and very caring and very smart. And you are just one of them. So what differentiates you as a Christian? I think it is the fact that you know that your work is unto God. You serve a higher master, which means also that your work does not enslave you. If you ask about my morals being tested, I don't have any direct experiences because for me, work is just work. The way I've always viewed work is that I could be doing any job. I could be in HR, I could be having to do frontline sales. And at the end of the day, my work is just work. It is just me maximizing the resources God has put in front of me. So whether or not I am a key player in the team or I am a support person in the team, at the end of the day, I do my best, but it's not for the recognition of my boss. Of course, it's nice to be recognized for the work that you do. But in the same way that you are faithful as a student, you are faithful in the position and the responsibility that God gives you at the moment. So I've never really found it conflicting to have faith. In fact, I think that anybody who says that, oh, my faith shakes my allegiance to God, then I think you need to reorientate your priorities. Because I think your faith is what helps you view and analyze your whole situation. So when I look at, like let's say I talked about how we look at the needs of the market to develop these products. When you do that sort of research, you then find out what the general society is desiring and is wanting. Where are people spending their money? Are they spending it on properties because having a home is something so important, having a house? Are they spending it on investment because I want to increase the money that I have? All these things reveal people's motives. And I think that the longer I'm at this job, the more I'm able to see and then to take stock of where I am and ask myself, if I'm in pursuit of something in my job, whether that is a promotion or a bigger bonus, is it because my motives are pure because I've been working hard? Or is it because I just want more and more and more and more? Like Uncle Chun mentioned just now, it's in the financial industry, the concept is very simple. You cannot serve God and mammon. You want to serve God, then everything you do, whether it's as small as having to come up with a graph for your boss, will be done to the utmost of your ability because you're doing it unto a bigger boss. So today, if I get scolded by a person, right, I will not let it affect the rest of my day. Just simply because why should I allow something so small to affect my joy? Like it's still my joy for no reason, I feel like that's not right. I think that as a general office worker, the fight is always for your joy and for your, where are you placing what you have value in? It cannot be your job. That's what I found. when I look, like I have worked for amazing bosses who are, you know, the youngest bosses in this department. We had one in risk, 30-year-old, and overnight he died of a heart attack. And you realize how trivial these pursuits are. You can be the best at your field, and yet if your value is not in something permanent, right, it doesn't matter what job you're doing already, it's just not worth it.
Wow, that was really good.
Well said.
Yeah, well said.
You
Really.
summarize everything.
Yeah, everything that we've been
You
discussing.
summarize every field, not only your banking thing.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Karen. Okay, so any last words, any advice that you would give to anyone who would want to pursue a career in the financial industry?
Can I say one thing?
Sure.
Just to echo what Karen said, and there's basically, I believe God call and places believers in all sector and all career, politics, finance. That I mean, we live in this world. Technically, everything has its bad and good lah, because we are a fallen world, right? So no matter what industry you're in, there is the influence of the devil in it, which means you need to have more strong believers that are like in that industry lah, in whether it's art, in music, in movies, in banking, in any sector. So what I want, one thing I want to say to the young people is that God will place in our heart a certain passion for certain area. Like for me, I was passionate about financial sector, not because when I was started is the money, but at the end is actually, I find it really, not a single day of my work I find it boring. I actually truly enjoy every single moment, to a point that I'm scared, I'm spending too much time at work. But my point I want to say is that I think for all the young people, God will put in your heart a certain passion, and you may not know, it's like searching in the dark in a little bit, but it's also exciting because you're discovering what draws you. And when you're there, when you're called in that area, there's no bad career, there's no bad industry. It's a matter of, when you're called there, God will enable you, and if you walk faithfully with God, you will shine your light there. And when you shine your light, actually you'll be successful.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with Uncle Chun. I think it is a matter of stewardship, right? We as Christians are called to steward resources well. So in the financial industry, it's helping people to be able to steward a tool, because money essentially is just a currency that we all agree we exchange and it has value. That's
Right.
what it is. And we help people to be able to place their money and spend it well, right? That's our objective in the financial sector. But it doesn't matter what sector you are called to, like Uncle Chun says, if God, even like for myself, right, I cannot say that I'm particularly passionate about the financial industry, but it is where God has led me. And I'm very content with my portion now. I'm not wondering how come I'm not in engineering sector now. I'm not envious of my friends who are. I believe that where God places you, like Uncle Chun says, if you are faithful, God blesses you there. And again, it's a matter of attitude, right? It is asking God, show me how I can be the best I can be at my job now. So I want to do the best I can and hone my skills here, because this is where God has placed me. So not everybody is going to have this, beam of passion that they pursue. If you do, I really admire people like that who know what they want to do. I feel like that's such a gift that God gives to some people. It's like they're so clear about their direction and their future. But if you're not like that, it's nothing to be afraid of as well. I think what I've come to learn from talking to a lot of university students is a lot of people actually don't know what they want to do. And that's something that's not actually that scary. Like Auntie Alicia said, if she didn't follow her friend, right, she won't end up in this job. So, God is faithful to also lead. In the same way that as students now, right, you might not know your career. It is also your responsibility to now steward your education, right? Because as you learn and you gather these different areas of information, they serve as a stepping stone. You might not end up using them directly. Like I do not apply engineering in the job where I currently am. But the skills that I learned during engineering, like the discipline, learning how to manage a project, learning how to look out for risk, all these things I apply to the job that I'm doing now. And so as a student, it may seem as if what you're doing can be very unrelatable. You might not enjoy certain subjects. Nevertheless, you have to do them. And in a case where you're a student, it is when God is building you and equipping you with these tools of how to learn, tools of how to be disciplined, tools of how to manage your time. These things will then serve you in your working life. So yeah, I think that's important to remember as a student, because as a student, especially let's say you're in a structured system, like you're doing IGCSEs or something like that, there are many subjects you have to take, and not all of them are something of your interest.
Why do I need pure math?
Yeah, like why do I need pure math? Yeah, some people hate math. I love math. Yeah, doesn't make sense to some people, right? But as you are faithful at it and you are not lazy, I think laziness is probably the greatest downfall as a student and at work. When you start to become lazy, I think that is when you are not being faithful with what God has given to you. Yeah.
Great, Charin. Wonderful. Alicia, you've anything you want to add on to what Choon and Charin have said?
Nothing much has been said. A lot of information for them to
The process.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we already shot over time, but I just want to open the floor. Do anyone of you have any questions that you want to pose to our panelists? You can either unmute and ask, or you can put in the chat group. I give you a little bit of time. Anything about work or education or background or tertiary levels, anything that you have. Okay, no questions?
Can always contact us later. It's fine. Yeah.
No questions. Okay.
The answer no play, no question.
Okay then. So since we have no questions, well, thanks Uncle Choon and Charin and Auntie Alicia. Thank you for your time, and I think it was a wonderful session. I truly enjoyed myself. I think I understand the banking and investment industry a lot better now. Yeah, so maybe I'll just quickly close in prayer, and then we can go off. Father, we want to